Welcome back to Mac Break Studio. I'm your host, Mark Spencer, and with me in the studio today, once again, we have Brian Gary.
Mark Spencer.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm great.
Good.
And I'm looking forward to see what kind of magic we're going to talk about today.
Magic is very interesting you say that, because we're actually going to be talking about two plugins from Red Giant Software, one called Magic Bullet Looks and the other one called Magic Bullet Mojo.
Looks and Mojo.
Yes.
All right.
Basically what, Looks is the full-on package that really gives you a significant amount of control over, I don't want to just call it a color grading application because it's so much more than that. Mojo is really going to be looking more towards getting certain color effects to your footage. It's just more streamlined. But because because Looks actually does so much stuff, it's kind of a hybrid between things you can do inside of After Effects with cameras and tilt shift and focus and vignetting and blurs, in addition to all the different color treatments you can add to it. So it's a very, very powerful plugin. I use it a lot in Speed Freaks, which I have right here, and this is a great example. This is one of the segments of the show was with the band Hoobastank. They, fairly, well-known band, and traveled across the world and everything. And part of Speed Freaks is there's always that intersection between rock and roll and motorsports. These guys in the band are huge motorcycle heads. I mean, They ride dirt bikes, they ride street bikes, the whole thing. And so they come on the show and not just talk about the band, but they also talk about bikes and motorsports, etc. But as you can see here I am in the background. Well, why am I standing in the background? Well, because this is in the radio show part of Speed Freaks, and often when we have a high-profile act, like we had the Scorpions come in, we had the Chelsea Girls come in, and Hoobastank, we'll actually light, kind of a la Howard Stern, will light the radio studio and shoot the segment.
You're shooting video right in the studio.
Exactly.
Still doesn't explain what you're doing in the shot.
Exactly. Well, it's because once we were wrapped, an informal conversation struck up with Chris Hess, who's the drummer for Hoobastank, one of the founding members, about where did the name Hoobastank come from.
I was afraid to ask that.
Yeah, well, smartly, my other fellow producer, while I was packing up the gear, picked up his camera, a little HV20, and just started shooting. Now, I already have a Magic Bullet Looks applied here, but I'm gonna uncheck that. It couldn't be more flat and uninteresting, bad, kind of fluorescent lit studio video.
Right.
That's meant, the studio lighting in here is meant for people to be comfortable while they're reading the news or on radio. Has nothing to do with shooting video. So this to me is just like, it couldn't be more flat and bland, but because it was actually a really good segment, we decided to use it because they talked about the name of...
Content is more important than form.
That's right. And just so you guys know, you can go check it out on mavtv.com, but if you really want to know, Hoobastank means whose butt stinks. Hoobastank. So there you go.
Anyway, I told you I was afraid to ask.
Yeah, you were afraid to ask, but you didn't even ask, and I told you anyway. So anyway, I'm just going to turn Looks back on before I go in to show you.
Wow.
I was able to create a grade that really just let this thing pop and looked like as if I went in and did something very aggressive and creative with it.
It looked like it did some contrast and some vignetting.
Exactly.
So this is more than just like, okay, I don't know how to use the color corrector three-way, so I'm going to throw some automatic thing on it. It's much more than that. Exactly.
And so what we're going to do here is you add once you install the plugin, it's just like any other FX plug. It appears inside of your effects, inside of your video filters. Okay. I already have it applied, but what you need to do first is pick the frame you want to work on, because it's going to load a whole new interface up, and the frame that it's going to show you, the representative frame, is the frame in which you're parked.
That one with the play.
Okay, because you can't change it once you're in. You have to kind of go back out. Okay. So if I click here and click Edit, I'm going to enter into the Looks Builder, which is the Magic Bullet Looks interface.
Okay, so you've launched this application now from Final Cut.
Exactly. And so I can either grab things and pull them right off the truck, like, for example, they have these presets. I could do deep copper, or
so
green vision or something.
Presets organized by category.
And then when I click them, you can see it just automatically applies.
Can you pile them on top of each other?
No, you can't, but you can do something interesting, because in answer to that, let's say I come here and select another one, it overrides that last choice.
I see.
Let's go back to this deep copper. That's kind of interesting. Now, what's all this stuff going across the bottom here? Because some of these effects come in pretty heavy off the truck.
Right.
And so you're like, well, I want to dial this back a little bit. Maybe I want to see what it would look like without this diffusion. Maybe that's too diffuse. I turn it off by the little check marks. I could also, once I select something, all of its parameters can be adjusted here.
Okay.
At the same time, I could say, you know what this really could stand for is a vignette, to really draw it in even more.
Right.
I don't see that as part of here, and I don't want to. I like everything else about this, and so instead of going back and finding another look, I can go to the tools. Now, these are all of the actual component pieces that these looks are drawing from.
Built out of, okay.
But you can start from scratch if you want, or add.
And it's kind of like, if you kind of think of a NOLA composite or something like in color, it's kind of like that. Those are little blocks that you build it up out of.
Exactly.
And each block has a set of parameters that you can adjust. So
And
very flexible.
And they did it so that people who are, producers who are shooting or DPs can understand. You have things here that are in your subject, things that you would do that's in front of the camera. I have things that would represent what I would do in a map box, putting in diffusion, different grad filters, et cetera, like that. Things on the lens,
right.
Vignette. So here's my vignette. If I want to add that, I just drop it down in.
Oh, you can throw flares in there. I saw that.
Exactly.
As well.
And so here's my vignette, and I can do things like,
Sure. Yeah. Very,
position it.
Change the position of it. Great.
Exactly.
Nice.
And then obviously I've got both camera and post, things that you would find associated within those different elements of the actual physical production are being represented inside of it.
Organized in a very logical kind of workflow.
From a shooter, not an engineer's.
Yes.
And that's why I love all this magic bullet stuff. Stu Maschwitz is one of the lead designers, if not the lead designer for this stuff, and he comes at it as a filmmaker. So all I have to do is click OK, and you can see I've now changed the grade altogether.
I also notice you're staying at Orange. I'm assuming you're running Real-Time Unlimited on this little MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
But it's not red, so you can actually.
Yeah, I could play it. It'll play back a little bit. I mean, it's obvious.
Okay.
It's going to be, if I turn this off, it's going to step it way down because there's a lot of stuff going on here.
Sure.
You can see, but at least I get it.
Yeah.
Basically, and then it snaps back and renders.
Fantastic.
So that's Magic Bullet looks, and again, if you go to the Red Giant software site, you have Magic Bullet looks and 1.4. If you're using Creative Suite, then you can get a version that will work in the 64-bit new CS5.
So it works in CS5, works in Final Cut. Motion?
It does work in Motion.
All right.
Yeah, so that's the version that's out right now, works inside of all of these applications. But if you're in CS5, you have to get the new version.
Not inexpensive, but does a great job.
Exactly. And that's where, when you brought that up at the expense, let's go back to another shot here where I haven't done anything to. Let's just look at, here's our hose crash. Let's say I want to do something with her on this shot, but I don't have looks. I have a piece of software called Mojo, which if we go back to their site, is kind of like the little brother. You notice it's 99 bucks.
99 bucks, Magic Bullet Mojo.
Yeah, it's meant to really just emulate Hollywood stock modes and footage that you're going to see out there that you see all the time. The orange teal look that Michael Bay loves, or the Pelham 123 look, and all that kind of stuff.
Bleach bypass kind of look.
Exactly.
So these are like preset things that you can't really tweak.
No, it's more of a slider thing, but they have very specific adjustments. So if I come here and I do a video filter and I do Magic Bullet Mojo and add it, you can see that I have the Mojo slider at the top and the mix are kind of like, how intense is this effect going to be? Am I really going to sock it on? Same thing with the mix. Do I want to like blend it better with the original source footage? Tint, balance, warm it, punch it, bleach it. Those are kind of like the Stu Maschwitz versions of the actual of his terminology of bleach bypassed.
Right.
Crushing the blacks, the contrast, all this kind of stuff. So you can see if I come here, do I want to warm it? One way, that's cooling it down. Warming it takes it the other way. You can see punch it. Do I want to deal with the contrast going one way or the other?
So it's all slider based. You're not selecting a preset. You're like adjusting each one individually.
Yes and no. Because I'm going to come here and I'm going to erase that. It also comes with Final Cut Pro comes with a Final Cut Pro project file with some predefined settings.
Okay, so somebody's tweaked the settings in a certain way and saved that as a preset.
Exactly. So
and
if I
so
come
I assume
here,
you could do the same.
Yeah. So Optimus, hello, that's a transformer. So I come here and drop this on.
Okay.
And you can see I've got a very orange skin tone and teal everything else.
Yep.
Okay. So again, that's Magic Bullet. Mojo. They also have Plastic Bullet, which is a nice little application for your phone.
I love Plastic Bullet.
Yeah, that you can then come here and you can shoot some pretty. Here's just a shot I shot with my iPhone. You get an interface inside of the application where you have the library, the camera, and once you select either something from your library or camera, you can sit there and you basically have 4 choices. And then you can say, oh, I don't like those, give me four more.
Keep cycling through.
Yeah,
you
and
keep looking at
then
it
once you choose one, you're like, that's good. But it's meant to kind of replicate that whole notion of the unpredictability.
Right.
The last thing I want to show is they have something that's called Red Giant People. What Red Giant People is a place where you can go and you can log in, and other users of all the Red Giant software will upload presets, some for sale, some to give away, and it's this forum for people who are using this software in the creative space, and allows you to not only open up a dialogue with people, but share your cool settings.
Yeah, I've noticed it's not only presets for products you purchase, there's even like After Effects project files
Sure.
in there, and
Yeah.
all kind of, and some of them may include third-party plugin presets, or they just may be neat things. People are like giving away really nice stuff on that site.
Yeah.
Beautiful stuff that you can build your products out of. Great.
So Magic Bullet Looks, Mojo, Red Giant People to check it out.
And Plastic Bullet.
Plastic Bullet.
Cool. Thanks, Brian.
Sure thing.
Thank you for watching MacBreak Studio.